Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Welcome back to the channel, finally. Tried this twice before, and for some reason the stream was acting up. I don't know what was up. Had to go for a full reset, and here we are. But welcome back. I am your host, Mortanius, and we are back with some more Vampyr or Vampyr on the PS5. Time of recording is 12:45 a.m. Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. Sorry for the lack of content yesterday, folks. Completely lost net connections around here, and finally got them back. It was well beyond the stream, so that was. When we last left off, we had finally managed to begin to make our way deeper into the heart of London, bearing witness to all manner of individuals. Also managed to save one particular individual. What was his name? Cadigan Bates, I think it was. Yep, Cadigan Bates. Apparently he was out and about looking to acquire rent from his tenants. Come to find out, quite a few of them had a few problems in the form of the scowl disease, virus problem, whatever it actually is. Managed to save him, of course, as I said, and now we're just moving further out into London to see if we can finally meet up with this Darius Petrescu, who supposedly runs this clinic over here in Whitechapel. This clinic based around the blackmail of one Lady Ashbury. An interesting redhead, if I do say so myself. So if y'all like what you see and want to see more of me as we continue on to solve this debacle, give me a like, a follow, subscribe here on YouTube or both. Drop a comment, check out some of the other playlists, share around some of the other playlists, bang the bell. Follow the links from my Twitch to get to my YouTube. Follow the links to my YouTube to get to my Twitch. And wherever you folks happen to be, have yourselves a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, and get comfortable. Let's get into this. Now, I mentioned it last episode, but I want to go ahead and warn you folks again. We are in a new district. As such, that district has a whole bunch of people to talk to. Odds are we're about to spend the next episode, if not the next 2 episodes, unfortunately, talking to them. But this area is mostly an outside area, so it should be broken up with the occasional bit of combat amongst other things. Again, I think this is part of the reason why the game didn't really take off. It was released in a time frame where people weren't really into a game that had you learn and keep track of individuals you spoke to, because they each had their own position in this world. I mean, there's exactly 40 civilians to deal with, and they made it a point to put a great deal of detail around all of them, just for the simple fact that you would be. Can't use my powers. Civilians are nearby. Ah, we're back here. Good. Now, he shot at you.
I'll not die in some piss-stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lavvy.
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert. Remember it. Now bugger off.
Remember it, huh? If this was Japanese, I'd hear him say something like, "Dette vai off."
Do you need assistance?
Please. Feeling tired these days.
Well, there you go, youngster.
There you go. Let's hope nobody steals it from you.
Very funny.
Kind of jumped the gun with that one.
What happened? Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything, it ain't me.
See, I hate how certain these answers are. At least the top one, left one, implies possibility, but usually when people say something like that, they don't mean it. It's like, yeah, maybe they mixed your exact features up with the exact features of another individual.
All right. Perhaps the poor drunk just confused you with someone else.
Sod off, mister. You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
I can understand at this particular moment you not being in a very gracious mood of your neighbors. But you might want to calm down. I might need to come borrow a cup of sugar one night.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
Goodbye, young man.
I'll not die in this stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lavvy.
It's all a bloody joke to you, isn't it?
Oh, laboratory, bathroom. Oh, toilet, bathroom, yeah, restroom.
What? Shooting a boy in the middle of the street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you say?
What? You saw what happened? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer, doctor. And no one can help me. Not even you.
War and drunk as a skunk. Those things unfortunately mix. War does that to people. Benjamin is a war vet. And as you can see at the top, Albert Palmer and Benjamin Palmer.
What can you tell me about this place?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
You don't have anywhere to go? No family that would welcome you?
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. Now I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
Sick, broken, your son just stole your pills.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just frayed me last nerve.
That is a thing, actually. It sounds like an excuse, but it is an actual thing. Setting aside control, right, discipline, you learn to push buttons. Buttons tend to get people killed. Whether they should or shouldn't is not the issue. You know, it's just certain things you don't do. And then you took his pills. If you did take his pills, and you know that he takes those pills because he's a vet or something, I mean, you're asking for it, bullet, son or not.
What is it, Benjamin? It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private.
That's how he snaps and goes Rambo on Whitechapel.
From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar. Coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
Yeah, that sounds about right, unfortunately. Mental institutions have always been a good idea, but they haven't always been used properly. We don't really have mental institutions like we used to. It's unfortunately a large part of the problem nowadays, but yeah. You shouldn't feel it. See, I wish there were merged answers, because it's the top too. The bottom one, getting grip, just might be him trying to get a grip. And him getting as much of a grip as he has might be why he's what he is, and not having put a hole through his son and about 5 more.
Yes. Sounds like shell shock. I've seen a few cases like yours. This is nothing you should be ashamed of, Benjamin. And it's perfectly natural in your situation.
I'm not ashamed. I just need my pills. Peace and quiet, that's all.
Not ashamed. He just wants to get back to as normal as he can. Trying to find some peace in his madness. His pills, unfortunately, even him out. One hopes they're non-narcotic, but, I mean, this is 1918. Odds are they are, unfortunately, whether people know it or not. Benjamin needs medication since he came back from the front.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
That's interesting. If nothing else, at least you know the possibility of her being real. And her being around here.
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Well said. You're mentally damaged. You do need to take some of this into your own hands, my friend.
I won't end up another drunk arsehole.
You obviously
here in
can't
the
take
streets.
everything.
Not me.
How are you, boy?
I'm not your boy, all right? Now piss off.
I didn't say my boy, I said boy. I could just as easily call you a man, sit you up and knock you in the
Goodbye,
mouth.
young man.
Me? I'll not die in some piss-stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lavvy.
Cool. Ah, you. Spotted you last episode. What were you speaking about, my dear?
Someday you'll understand. You've wasted your life away.
Interesting. What does he mean?
The Swanborough Cordial will be the answer to all your problems. As long as you have the money.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough Cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
If nothing else, setting aside the potential for it to always be the case, she knows I have potential research. Okay. Sounds like snake oil so far, but at least your brother's done enough homework to make you look a little bit more legit.
You look ill, Miss Swanborough. I wonder if your concoction will do the trick.
I'm perfectly fine, thanks to my miraculous elixir. You, on the other hand, look pale and tired, Doctor.
Kind of dead on my feet. Don't worry about that, though.
Tell me, Who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
Interesting.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Interesting. So far, we've only talked to 2 people, not exactly in good states of mind, but nobody's mentioned it. Not even the man who seems to have a strong need for medication.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt. The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
Oh, he's one of those. I say I'm surprised, but the man came out here looking for his money during an epidemic. If nothing else, he came out here by himself. Nobody can say he ain't hard.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
Interesting.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
Alright. And she has the Swanborough Cordial. Swanborough Cordial with the list of ingredients printed in Latin. This item can be recycled into components. Figure, why not? Wait a minute.
It's locked.
Huh? I could have sworn. Maybe not. Only reason I want it up there is so I didn't have to bother doing what I'm doing right now. I shouldn't have to kill anything in here since I already did, but it's not really the point. But I think this place does actually repopulate. I could be wrong. I mean, it obviously wasn't this fast, but... Alright. Swanborough Cordial broke down. Sepsis. Migraine, recovering. Bates has a cold, but I couldn't do anything with him. Now, they are nice enough to make it to where until you actually get to a district, you don't have to worry about the district falling. But okay, so we went that way. Now, I tried to open this door, but oh, okay. I guess I couldn't do it because I hadn't killed those other scowls yet. That was weird. Yeah, or I just swapped the doors, and I'm actually thinking about the other door being the one I shouldn't have gone through. But yeah, I'm like, I think it's just fine.
Good evening, my dear.
Goodbye, Miss Swanborough.
Now, she speaks about her brother. And I mention it because the brother is hard to get to. So much so, it's hard to remember how to find him. Ooh, you gotta wonder who's on that train.
It's locked, all right.
If it's the worst thing they should be doing, or that they could be doing, rather. The ability to traverse high speed, great distances. It's one of the reasons why quite a few viruses, sicknesses, as well as the beer bug we had to deal with, / are still dealing with. That's why I was able to be so prolific. The ability to circumnavigate the globe at high speed is power. Came across those two arguing last episode.
Come on, take a look. Don't be afraid.
He was asking for a discount. He was telling him to suck eggs, basically.
Welcome, sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I am Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
How is business around here?
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
Joe's extortion put Barrett Lewis in a tough financial situation. Barrett is in a tough financial situation because of Joe's restrictions, or extortions. Restrictions.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
What you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Ooh.
Violence is increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
I mean, why wouldn't you go looting around areas like that, though? They'd be perfect for it.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
Well, we know what happened to them.
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse, then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
Crafty foreigner? This is what I'm, like, what? An excellent nurse. Because we've seen her skills firsthand, haven't we? Yes, We've seen Dorothy Crane's skill. You know what? I'll actually say that. It's just they have us looking for her in a weird kind of way.
Yes, she's a nurse, and quite a good one. What did she do to gain such notoriety?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
Dorothy gives away drugs and medicine for free. And I can respect it. I get you have bills to pay, but, you know, life ain't just about bills, bro.
Right then. Show me what you have.
They are extremely important, but life ain't just about them. Now, as you can see, he's got quite a bit of supplies, including what I need for a lot of my items, depending on what it is. Can I look at what I need for those here? Yes, sir, Skay. Good handles. Tiny common handles, and he sells them.
Fancy buying some?
I do.
Right.
I only needed 2, I do believe. Yes, sir. Now, as time goes on, the shops will restock, so.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson's son, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
Huh. Rarely seen in these parts. That's interesting.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
So sometimes you do things you don't want to do. Sounds like life, my friend. Sounds like life.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you?
Nope.
I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation.
Yep.
Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
Yeah, I can respect that you're at least straight up.
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
Bro, ain't you like in your 40s? 30s or 40s and you enlisted in a gang? Look, you need to work. I can respect that, especially with this going on. Work is gonna be hard. It really is. Quite literally, this is the story of essential personnel all over again. Survival is a natural law. You are a criminal, but you could have refused. Again, I get you need to work and you gotta feed yourself and whatnot, but like Jesus.
Most people don't become thugs when unemployed. This is a choice you made.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
That's interesting. I never said anything about him being a victim. I speak about your extortion racket and you running around basically doing this to people. Barrett and Joe Peterson used to be good friends. Joe and Barrett Lewis used to be good friends.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Notice how he speaks about her. He respects who she is. He respects what she does. He's actually willing to help her. And he actually likes that there's some bright spot around here. That says a lot about who he is, but primarily a lot about who she is to the people around here.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
This week, Joe. Come on, we can sort it out, right?
It's not my call, Barrett. You paid one way or another.
Please, Joe. How long have we known each other? We even used to be neighbours, for Christ's sake.
I'd prefer not to give you another beating, Barrett.
That's interesting. If he's to be believed,
I know it's hard to believe, but this district's always been wretched. Don't let your guard down, sir.
if he's to be believed, he'd rather not have to put hands on his old friend. But it still begs questions as to why he's willing to do so. Whoa. I don't know what just happened.
Hello, young man. I'm Dr. Reed, and I would like to ask you a few questions. May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Little pig, little pig.
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then? Okay then. Come on in. I'm Harry, by the way. Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
The Peterson's house.
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
Do you need any medical help, young man?
Yes, I do. I feel so tired. I don't know if it's the epidemic, but everything seems so hard.
Do I? Yeah, I need to go make some more migraine meds.
I will see you later. How do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time. If only I could be tough, like... Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Interesting. No, it's not. That's the culmination of quite a bit, actually. Harry has a frail constitution and is often sick.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you. Does this look like a nice place to live?
Harry did not want to live in Whitechapel in the first place. You assume your father did, and you assume your father had choice. Was your mother around when y'all moved to Whitechapel?
I'm sure your father did his best when he found this house. Times are tough for everyone, young man.
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got. I wasn't even consulted when we moved here.
Once again, you assume there's choice for one, and for two, it's not to say you should be ignored, but you need to be consulted when we're moving somewhere. You chipping in, son? You knocking out them bills around here?
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw terrible things. Bloody and frightening things.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
So he has a frail constitution and he's extremely introverted. There might be something else there too.
Your father and Mr. Lewis used to be good friends. What happened, Harry?
I was young then. I don't remember Mr. Lewis ever coming back again after my mother died. Or was it after my father started bullying him? I don't know.
Interesting. That begs questions.
Have you tried speaking to Mr. Lewis about it?
I don't go out often, but yes. And he scolded me and told me to leave him alone. I guess my father frightens him too much.
Don't know if that's the case.
But you are not responsible for your father's actions.
Am I not? Dad always says that he joined that gang for my safety. So if I wasn't born, people wouldn't be worrying about Colossus Joe.
That doesn't mean that you are to blame or that your father's blaming you. It just means that there are more necessities, so he has more choices to make, good, bad, and in between.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
Yes, I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
You should. Outside air, exposure to bugs, life, good for the immune system.
Goodbye, young man. Take care of yourself.
Good for psychology, too.
Even my dreams are soaked with gloom.
Nothing wrong with being in the house. I'm more of a homebody myself. I don't really go out often, but one should always be outside from time to time.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
Good for the soul, good for the body, good for the mind.
It's locked, all right.
Gotta murder some people to get it. Job refusal letter. Dear Mr. Peterson, it is my duty to inform you of our refusal to accept your application for a job at the dockyard. I must thank you for the time spent at our office explaining the difficulty of your situation with your ill boy and the loss of your beloved wife. But it is also my duty to point out the policy of our company, which expressly reproves the employment of former criminals or convicts. Your unfortunate connections with the ill-famed Wet Boot Boys have been duly noted. These are hard times, sir, and Finch and Harper intend to reward first the candidates who pass the small inquiry we like to conduct about our future employees. You have my deepest sympathy, and may God be with you and your family. Sincerely, R.D. Harper. Joe cannot find a legal job because of his criminal reputation, and that's the crux of it. You end up with a criminal reputation. Even if you didn't do anything, you end up with a criminal reputation, which then shoots you in the foot in all future endeavors. But he actually has a criminal reputation that's justified. It's legit. Professional vampire hunters. Oh, okay. I thought we might have read this, so I wanted to check to be sure. Professional vampire hunters. If you ever suspect someone to be a vampire, don't try to kill it yourself. You have no chance. Instead, contact me or try to inform a professional vampire killer. These men and women are rare, but they know what to do against these evil creatures. It even seems that some of them are working together under the name of the Guard of Prewin, a paramilitary organization dedicated to the eradication of the vampires in London. They're your friends. You are not alone. Solutions exist. Be smart. Spread the word. Clarence Crossley. For more information, please contact me directly. See, even when you try and pull yourself out of the muck is still stuck on you.
You look so pale, my lord. Would you like me to revive you? Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina do for you?
I'm not looking for what you're selling. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. I'm a doctor. Dr. Reed.
All right then, but be quick. Though I usually get paid when I open my mouth.
Fantastic, Christina. Fantastic. I'm over here reading these signs behind them. Oh, God. She's fatigued. Shocker.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed. Or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
Yeah, judgment is a hell of a thing, ain't it? Look, I'm not knocking you, alright? It's just a simple matter of your profession. The way you just described yourself, there's no way you're going home to a husband in 1918. No offense. That was all a description of a lady of the night, pure and simple. So you're everywhere just by your profession. So is this pandemic. And we're just trying to get the baseline of where this is coming from, how, who, what, when, where, why. It doesn't matter if it's you, whether you know it or not, so long as we find the source. It is wild how I hate doctors. Yeah. They're good, bad, or in between, pleasant or not. Doctors will tell you things about yourself.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right now, I need money. That's what's important.
And it doesn't really matter what lines you have to cross, does it? That usually tends to be the argument. Unfortunately, in this particular day and age, she at least has more of a leg to stand on with this pandemic going on. It's not exactly the argument I try and use for the last pandemic we had, but hey, quite a few do.
You can put your own life in danger, that's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're contaminated, you will put them in danger too.
And you think that would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with, their health would not be what you'd worry about.
Well, damn. See, that's the thing about doing a job like this. You see the worst, some of the worst aspects of people. Particularly, she probably only deals with men, so she sees some of the worst aspects of men. But ignore how you feel about those men for a second and pay attention to the fact that those men probably have families and friends who don't function the way you take issue with. But I guess to make those men pay, those around them should suffer, huh? Say I'm surprised, but I'd be lying. Why be smart? I need to get paid.
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work.
Yeah.
I am, however, curious as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
That's cool. Partly I can understand why it is they would, if for nothing else, and to make sure that the people who are of their own demographics, not even race, just of their own like public demographics, where they live, they'd at least be able to have the people who live in this land natively, or at least for a certain number of years, would have access to an opportunity before somebody who came from overseas would. I could see that. But, I mean, you still have somebody who wants to work. You effectively telling them, no, that's a little ridiculous. Christina could not find any decent job because she was a migrant. Wonder what she means by decent job. Like, are you literally just talking about any kind of job that doesn't require you to do what you're doing now? Or are you talking about like let's say, what was it, in the U.S. it's like what, $39,000 to $45,000 a year is the slightly below average, or if not average, income for somebody in this country to live not fantastically but comfortably by themselves without a great many necessities and still be able to entertain themselves. Most would say $60,000 a year is decent, tolerable, especially depending on where you live in this country, and to an extent they're kind of accurate. But are you basically saying if you ain't making like above 45 an hour, well, not 45 an hour, 45 a year, it's not gonna matter or something? Or are you saying no, there's literally no decent work, and the only work that there is on your back, unfortunately? Because if that's what you're saying, then yeah, that's pretty cold. Otherwise, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds kind of lazy. But I'm gonna assume that you actually wanted a legit job. It was your decision to sell your body, but at the same time, it was that or starve, potentially. I'd say find another job, but that would imply that there is another job. You should find another job, but again, that would imply that there is another job. I do judge you, but in contexts like this, I can't blame you for not wanting to die. I mean, you know. The top right is the best choice out of the three, honestly.
I'm sure you could have found another job, perhaps less lucrative. Maybe you should try again.
And when exactly was the last time you looked for a job? Or worried about the rent, or what, or when you were going to eat?
Well, in terms of his jacket, he's obviously from a certain scale. That doesn't mean it's been his entire life. I mean, you forget the man was at war.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Anything you can tell me about her would be helpful.
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crăciunescu. She came from Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her.
Dorothea helps the sick people of Whitechapel. Everyone should respect that.
I don't know, but I'm assuming you mean should respect that because she doesn't ask for anything in return. Dorothea Petrescu. It's a pretty name, actually.
Do you know Nurse?
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothy.
You seem to.
Dorothea helps the sick.
And that's interesting. She hates doctors, but she likes her. Dorothea must not judge. Or at least must not mention anything about her profession. It's like, look, your health is a thing. If you don't care about your health, fine. Or at least care about the health of somebody else. And then again, you assume his whole life has just been glitz, glamour, and upper scale. It may have been. But then he chose to be a doctor. To put himself in the mud and blood. And then to try and develop ways to save more lives. He may still be upscale, but at the end of the day, this is a man who knows how to and when to get his hands dirty. And is willing to do so.
Goodbye, miss. Take care of yourself as best you can.
Yeah, honestly. Be careful.
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Gotta love how I'm known. It has its uses.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
Yeah, but they need to know that back home they effectively have no home to return to. So make the best of what you got out there. And when the time comes to return home, keep your head on a swivel as you do. Reality is uncomfortable, Clayton. Me personally, I'd rather know.
It's a disgrace. People are left to die alone. No one is properly informed of the risks.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
I mean, all the information you could spread that's actually useful, that could actually save lives, and nope, not gonna do that.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
To be fair, his colleagues might have more sense than he does, but I get it.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
I like that. I agree with that and I can respect that, but at least have a damn bodyguard. Clayton wants newspapers to print the truth about Whitechapel's situation. Connected to Christina.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Okay.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
I don't know if it's just the flu. Because if it was just the flu, then like, damn. Other places out there are dealing with vampires and skulls. That's some horrifying stuff. But beyond that, the virus, the flu might be how it spreads, but I doubt it's the flu itself.
I'm convinced there is more at work here than a simple epidemic.
Really? To be honest, I could say the same. Some of the sick I saw or heard of. My God, what happened to them?
It makes no sense. You can't sit here telling people it's just a flu, it's just a flu, it's just a flu. What happens when the flu pops up and they don't look like that? What happens when they look like that and it ain't the flu?
Christina Popper claims she sells her body because she can't find any other work. Do you believe her?
Of course I do. Her story is exactly what I want my readers to understand. We live in an intolerant and divided nation.
Do you think things will ever change, Mr. Darby?
I believe the situation can only improve. And now that women can vote, I'm convinced things will change.
Yeah, I mean, so long as they're willing to accept the responsibilities that come with the voting power, nobody takes issue.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
Not all were, at the time, actually wanting to accept the responsibility or the power of being able to vote. And the reason why is because it came with the corresponding responsibility of having to fight in wars. Memory serves, it was the anti-suffragettes that actually took issue with it because they knew what was going to be required. Flower bouquet. A small flower bouquet with a voucher for a free medical checkup hidden between the flowers. If you are sick, if you have no money, whoever you are, wherever you're from, come see Dorothea to get help. No tricks, no charges, no questions asked. Just find Darius Petrescu's house and present this coupon. That's cool. Camilla secretly distributes medical vouchers for Dorothy Crane's dispensary. Her dispensary? Y'all got that fire, though?
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
You'd like to ask the mute?
I know what you're thinking.
Florist.
A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night.
To answer
It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it kind of reeks of the penny dreadfuls, I guess you could say. That's one of the reasons why we stopped. Damn, boy. This game is just full of stuff. It's one of the reasons why we stopped really just walking up on y'all in the dark.
I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it?
She likes her secrets.
Melia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever.
Very. It's one thing to be mute. It's one thing to be stubborn, but
Very
a
well.
combination.
Goodbye then.
She said, "I ain't talking, not even with these hands." Now, as you see, she'll just roam around constantly planting those. I wonder if I can get into the cemetery yet. Just had to see if that was a shortcut. Some of these doors are in this game are some of those open from the other side types. That's a church.
You are blinded by your false faith, imprisoned by your daily routine, unable to see the true horror around you.
What do you speak on, Father?
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Huh? Do I remember this dude? There's nothing in my religion which apparently looks like the same one you follow, depending on what other variation we happen to be a part of. Baptist over here. I'm assuming you're potentially Methodist or Catholic, not sure. But at no time does my book say anything about science not being something that was a creation of God.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Interesting. You hear people speak about from religious standpoints or from crazy standpoints or from secular standpoints, and you hear them speak about something that's about to happen sometimes. And it's like, are you crazy or are you on to something? Or are you crazy because you're on to something?
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Interesting.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Tobias wants to cleanse the epidemic by fire. Extremely draconian methods, but they unfortunately do work a lot of the times.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Really? Yeah, this kind of got me wondering what he's talking about. This being the 20th century is not a good argument. It's like when people say, it's 2024, it's 2025, it should be, this is how it should be. No. We've been doing things a certain way for 300,000 years. It being a new year is not a good argument. Science, I don't believe, is our only hope. Right there. Right there.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad. And dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
Man's not entirely wrong. At no time has salvation ever been free. At every point in history, salvation has been bought with the blood of thousands. It is an unfortunate reality. Tobias believes that the vicar of St. Mary's Church, Joseph Larrabee, is preaching a false faith. It's hard to say rather. Now, this dude is a zealot. Let's keep it real. He is a zealot. To what degree, though, I can't entirely say. Because, like, You didn't really explain. All you said was fire. And but he asked you, okay, let's go with that. Where's the line at? Your answer basically danced around his question and said there is no line. But any true believer of God knows there's always a line. So what are you talking about?
What do you mean when you say that I am more...
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes.
Quite a...
But you...
What tell you're
my
Joseph.
Vicar.
Yeah. Cause and effect is a real thing. You yourself know it. Pray to the Lord thy God. You know what happens if you don't. It's considered disrespectful, among other things. You don't simply provide lip service. You pray out of deep respect and true desire.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have...
See how he asked those questions? In these ... terrible times.
I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I send him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Good Lord.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes him a zealot. Because then, if something happens to him, he wasn't a true believer then. That's what makes him a zealot. That right there. But then something happens to you. Were you a true believer? See, folks like this are the ones that give religious individuals a bad name. And what's worse, his desire is not to do that. His desire is to be as straight up, legit, and helpful as possible. That's the worst aspect, when you get those people who want to do right. But 2/3 of what they do is nothing but a disaster. Not because they're like stupid or something, but because what they're doing is disastrous.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
Oh, okay, never mind. That cemetery is, I think, the one I was trying to get into a second ago.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
Liberalism can be painful. It has some useful aspects as well. It really does. But it can be painful. But what issues do you have?
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
No.
You assume he knows Florence Nightingale's work.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Well, they're people, so their moral fiber is always possible to be disrupted. But I mean, I can see his sense. I don't think he's saying that these nuns can't learn to be nurses. I think he's just saying that they can't be nurses specifically.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
I'm not gonna lie, communism is a fast way to lose me. Dorothy was a clandestine resistant, clandestine resistant in her homeland. Hard to say why she would be.
Do you know... I have had enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Yeah, see, he's religious, but he's the kind of person that makes all other religious folks look like a problem. Most religious people are not zealots to that, or not zealots, especially to not that degree. That is legendary. Jesus. You gotta remember, folks, it's been a few years since I played this, so most of my memory about this stuff is either something that comes back or something that ain't happening. Time to upgrade this weapon. Tiny good handle part. Decrease stamina consumption. Could make more serums and store them. Okay. Still got quite a few people to talk to, but at this point, we might as well go ahead and talk to Darius Petrescu. Now, we've had the icon for where he's at since the beginning of getting to Whitechapel. That's not an issue. What we wanted was basically to run around, other than talking to the neighborhood, learning a few things about them, picking up some stuff, upgrades, so on and so forth. We wanted to get a baseline for who it is we were dealing with before we made a move. A bit of understanding, if you will. And now we have it. There's always room for more, as you can see. But I think we'll manage. Hold on. Let me actually run around here real quick and deal with a few people's medical problems. Well, my dear, here's hoping you told everyone as far as the ear can hear. Swanbro cordial. It's good for the environment and okay for you. Okay. Got through all.
Good evening, Christina. Do you need any assistance?